Oh, okay, hello, and here we are, the 100's number 10 Hangout, and I'm here with Ox. Um, we do these hangouts as a group just to kind of encourage each other and whatnot. And most of the time when we do these, um, and I would say we're going to do something a little different because most of the time when we do these, we just kind of talk about whatever comes into our head, which is usually food, movies, and comics. But this time we're going to try something a little different and actually have a topic. So our topic of discussion kind of came up on Twitter, and it's how to get into the mind of a character, or write for a character that you're not necessarily familiar with, or maybe is a part of a marginal group that might be a sensitive thing to write. So with that, I just want to say my name's Carrie, and you can find me on Twitter under MN Conundrum, and also on uh, Instagram and Facebook, and I'll put the links below at the end, and then I'll go ahead and let Ox introduce himself.
Righteous. I'm Ox, part of the hundreds. I just completed my 30-day challenge, where I took the month of September to work on my 7th issue of my series. I never forgot. You can find me on Twitter and YouTube most actively under the name Samurai Ox, and yeah, it's been a pretty wild month.
Yep. All right. Well, um, I don't know. I guess we'll start if we want to start with the topic. So I guess we were talking about. It started out with, I think, writing for women,
Mm-hmm.
and that seems to be difficult for some people. But I think it kind of goes on to writing for other people. I mean, you can write for an alien too. I mean, you still have to create that. You know what I'm saying? You still have to create that character and their
Yeah.
motivations, and even though you may not put the motivations in there, make them obvious, they still have to have motivations to be a character, to be a fully,
Mm-hmm.
fledged character.
Mm-hmm. I think it's more of a mindset where you want to create these characters that have this life, but at the same time, there's so many people that are vocal about you oppressing one certain group over the other, and it just becomes such a mind game to get into this whole series of events that leads you to be able to write about a character. Um, I thought the topic was amazing because as I hit the end of issue 7, I'm trying to write uh, my two main characters basically um, kind of falling into each other's arms, and it's a point where I knew I was going to get. So when um, parents come up to ask me if my comic is child friendly, I tend to lean more young adult esque. There's some very adult issues in my comic, but that seemed to be the one that I was kind of straying them away from because there's no scorn more difficult to deal with than that of a parent, I have found.
Yeah, it's tricky too, trying to figure out what would be appropriate for certain age groups too, because I mean, yeah, depending on the maturity level. I mean, I was reading Spawn when I was 14, so I mean, and that's not exactly a kid comic. So I mean, it just so I guess it's something, it just has to be for the kid too. But yeah, I mean, when you talk about people maybe getting, not knowing how to write a character and not offend people or whatever, it's kind of funny because even with a marginalized character, or a marginalized group, they all have their different experience of it. Like, no one experiences that the same way. I mean, as
Mhm.
as a woman, I don't experience womanhood the same way as possibly someone else. So I think you're never going to, when you do that, there's always going to be someone you're going to offend, probably.
Yeah.
There's always going to be somebody who's not going to. Sorry, that was my cat. He's been causing me trouble all week. Go right for the cat. So there's always going to be someone who's going to take it the wrong way and say that's not the right experience, even though it may be the right experience for someone.
Mhm.
And that's kind of where you get, it gets tricky too.
Yeah, and it's become a situation where even the people that aren't in the group that they are claiming that are being offended, like even hold pitchforks for those people. And it's like, if it's not hurting you, like why even speak up about it? Because I think many people have forgotten that old adage that if you're not going to say anything nice, don't say anything at all. And it's like us being artists, it's such a there's so many thin lines that we have to walk already, and to have that one as well, it's just complete chaos being an artist in
Right.
this time of age.
Right, and it could be, and you could even be in that group and get that kind of reaction too. I mean, I know recently,
Mm.
well, I don't know how recently, maybe a couple months ago, um, Sophie Campbell, who draws for Gem and helps write parts of Gem, created a trans character, and she put into that character. She developed the story so that the character coming out to the Misfits happened in a certain way, and that was similar to what she felt her experience was coming out. But she got a lot of flack for that and a lot of lashing out from that community, saying that that's not the right experience. So even if you're part of that community, there's a chance you might get flack for it, or might get
Oh, yeah.
someone who doesn't like it.
I mean, look at the whole Captain America issue earlier this year, where they wrote him as being a Hydra agent, and like back in the World War era time, like he was written as a Nazi. So it's like there's similar lines, but people are able to be so much more vocal right now that, and people were losing their minds over it. Like I
Yeah.
saw some posts about people in the military like taking up arms against Marvel, and it's like everybody needs to relax because like they only announced that he was Hydra, and people lost their minds. Like they didn't even give it a chance to be fleshed out and fully realized. And it's like, is this the kind of world you want to create for? It's like everybody just needs to relax a little bit more.
Yeah, well,
So,
especially something like that, and that too gets to the point of people who get this idea in their head of what a character is,
mhm.
and when you try to mess with that, um, yeah, they tend to get a little upset. But
Yeah,
you're
and
right. I
it's
mean, they didn't give it a
it's
chance. Yeah.
and then it's basically a page turn because they revealed it at the end of the issue, and you have to wait for the next issue to come out, and like they got so up in arms about it that they ruined that page turn that they would have had for themselves, and like
Right.
this idea of actually finding out what they were trying to do with the character. And it's like they're only shooting themselves in the foot at that point. And how do you go against that? Like
Right.
people just people just need to realize just these are fantasy worlds, and if it's not working for you, you're more than welcome to walk away from it. Like you
Right.
don't have to be there and root on characters that you don't necessarily agree with. But at the
Right.
same point, if you are finding something that's incredible and like that really hits home, share it with everybody that you think that would like it too. So
Right.
the people that are campaigning for great stories, I find are much less vocal than the ones trying to tear it down. So
Yeah.
it's in a world like that, you want to be more of a positive beacon than a negative. So
Right. Yeah, I think a lot of people like to just tear things down, and just I think it's a lot of it goes back to the whole nerd mentality where
oh yeah, yeah.
where you look for the inconsistencies in a movie or whatever it is, and I think people just like to sometimes they just like to be like that and find
Mm-hmm.
fault with stuff.
Well, it's much easier to be part of a mob than a single person standing against that mob. So
Yeah, true.
it's a wild world we live in.
Yeah, it's funny.
So what currently are you working on that you are experiencing these issues with writing characters?
Well, I mean, actually, I have to get back to it, but my comic work in progress, um, has some characters in it that I'm not necessarily, I'm not part of those groups. I mean, it has some black characters in it, and it has. I mean, it's probably not obvious, but it has a trans character in it, and I had to. When I was first looking at that and trying to decide whether how to approach that character, because I'm not myself, I actually reached out to a couple of creators that I know that are trans to kind of get their feedback on different things I wanted to try to see if it's something that would be disrespectful to, because I wanted to be respectful to the
Hmm.
character and
Oh,
whatnot,
absolutely,
you
absolutely.
know. But even with my other characters, even with I've got a Hispanic character, and I've got my two characters are actually Jamaican. So I've actually talked to because we have a big Jamaican community down here in Florida. I've actually talked to some people too, just kind of get their stories, how they grew up with the kind of things that they dealt with or whatever, just to get the to kind of get what the mindset is and what their
Hmm.
motivations are for the characters.
Right on. Yeah, I think that's what you have to do too. Is just find points of reference to whether it be in easy accessible like stuff on the internet that you could look up, or actually finding people with that plight and talking to them and seeing where their headspace is and trying to get in there as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
that's
think
awesome.
ideally, if you can talk with somebody who
Hmm.
has that experience, it's the best. You
Oh,
know.
absolutely.
Otherwise, yeah, everything else is the internet. If you're writing for
Seems
a
to be
Civil War
the
character, you
easiest
may not
way.
necessarily have somebody.
It's true. It's true. That's awesome. Um,
Yeah.
so you mentioned you had to get back to it. I remember there was the scene after the comic books store. I think was the last one that I had seen. How much further are you from that then?
Oh, trying to think. So you're talking about the one where she has electricity thing?
Yeah, yeah.
Maggie does. Yeah, that's about the next page was it was basically the aftermath of that, or the start of the aftermath of
Okay.
that. So that's about as far as I got. Um, Unfortunately, I've had a bunch of stuff happening in my life. It just that's something I have to kind of like focus on, and I couldn't. So I
Right
put
on.
it on for a little while, and that's now that things are starting to get back into a rhythm. I definitely want to get back into that.
Heck yeah.
Otherwise, I'm doing the Inktober challenge. So
That has become such a craze. That's so wild that like I kind of wanted to do it, but September was so crazy that I'm so looking forward to October, just taking it easy and taking a break from a lot of things. But yeah,
yeah.
it's really became such a craze that like I I don't know, like it seems like people aren't doing it in the spirit of it, but they're doing it in the point where everybody else is doing it around them, where it was started to like so Jake Parker could learn how to ink better, and like he's far better than what he used to be, and he's still doing it. I think he's doing it just because he created it, and it would seem weird if he didn't do it. But like I saw some this morning that were just amazing, and it's like
Hmm.
it's wild to me for them to do such finished pieces, like, and if it's to build their portfolio, good on them, but like also it seems like they're taking away from newer creators that could possibly be using the hashtags to um, improve and look for criticism. So
Ah.
I don't know. It's a double edged sword. It seems.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's kind of morphed a little bit. Like you still have the people who are doing the improvement piece of it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
then you have the people that are using it as a kind of a platform to do something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I personally I chose a theme. My theme is monsters, and my plan eventually is to take those drawings because I'm going to do 31 different monsters all in the same kind of style. Try to get some consistency, and I guess what I'm learning is to finish something. you know, but my plan is to eventually, at the end, I'm going to take it into Manga Studio, color it, and basically turn it into a storybook and use it
That's
that
awesome.
way. So it's kind of forcing me again to have consistency in what I'm drawing, and even
Mm-hmm.
though it's not a sequential art necessarily. But I'm going to complete something at least, so that's kind of how I'm using it. I know other people have picked different themes like that too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I started out last year and was just following along with the prompts and did about half the month, and um, kind of ran out of time because I was doing everything else. But um, the year before that, I had done it, and I had met so many incredible artists doing it as well. And like, there's a real sense of community around everything. But like, I think people are a little bit afraid to talk to artists too, which I have been, and I'm starting to get over that. And like, if I really like a piece, I'll make sure I'll like it and comment them and ask them a question about the piece too. And I think that's very important while doing a challenge like this, is to actually reach out and appreciate other people's art if you do appreciate it. Because I mean, us as creators know it's very rare to. I wouldn't say it's rare, but it's less likely to get those great comments. So when you do, you cherish them a little bit more. So,
Oh,
and I
absolutely.
think
Yeah.
doing a challenge like this, I think it might be a little disheartening, because I mean, doing that consistently day after day for a month, like I just finished my month challenge, and I'm like, I could take a break, but like
Yeah.
doing that month challenge, like you get into some wild headspace just because there's that consistency you have to meet, and then obviously the finished drawing every day. So it's like, cheer them on, cheer them on
Yeah.
if you dig them.
Absolutely. I mean, and as a group, we need to kind of support each other too. Our
Oh,
artist artists,
absolutely.
but there's definitely some intimidating people out there. I mean, I've got I follow Jim Lee, and I'm just like every time I see his stuff, I feel like it's penciled with crayons, and I'm just like but even people like that. I mean, everybody. I mean, as artists, none of us think our stuff is perfect. A lot of us,
Mhm.
even the best ones. So it's always good to encourage whoever is put good comments on there and encourage them.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. That's awesome.
Mm.
Now I'm looking forward to your Inktober book
Yep.
project.
Yeah.
I saw
Hopefully, I
the
won't
one you
run out
did
of steam.
earlier. It
Yeah.
was like a octopus type monster. I saw
Yeah.
the prickly hand, and I was like, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. In a moving box because I've been doing a lot of moving. So to me, that's a monstrous thing.
Oh man, I never want to face that monster again. I think both of us were moving about the same time, weren't we? About a month
Yeah, I think
ago.
so, house-wise, yeah, and I just moved my office now too. My boss seems to like to move me to different locations for some reason, but yeah, I think we just moved. Yeah, I think it was about a month ago,
Nope.
about the same time. I think I was right before you, but yeah, we moved at the same time too. It's
Poof.
terrible going through that stuff, packing and picking stuff out and
Oh,
tossing
movies
it
are
out.
the worst.
Yeah,
So awesome.
yeah,
Um, I'm trying to think what the other prompts for the whole uh, talking about a person were. Um, I know the I think it was about females, wasn't it? The whole um, 5 questions, I think it was.
yeah. That's the webcomic chat.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, and it was like, what makes a woman harder, and being male, obviously, I'm definitely don't have the same mindset as you would, and it's for me, it's trying to find that balance of writing for both genders. And then I remember, I think you retweeted it, but somebody had said it's not that it's necessarily that you're writing the gender; it's you're trying to write a person, and persons are
mhm,
inherently hard to write up. I mean, you're
right.
trying to put a story to a person, and it's like the story you're working on, and then you have a story like branching out from that. So it's like
Right.
there's so
Yeah, I
much
mean,
that
yeah.
goes into it that you don't think about.
Yeah, I mean, writing any person that's not like you is difficult, whether gender-wise or whatever. It doesn't. I agree. It's
Mhm.
hard to write people in general. Um, Sometimes you have to kind of like again get inside their head and just kind of imagine you're them, put yourself in their shoes, and figure out what how they would react to their environment or whatever. It's not always easy to do though.
Yeah, and sometimes it takes just what you wouldn't do, and like just going 180 degrees to write
Yeah.
a character. I've know that I've done that in the past, where I'd go through a list of what I wouldn't do, and like I just check that character sheet like as I'm writing it to make sure it lines up with what I started with. So.
Right. Get consistency with the character too. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, I it always kills me when I hear that stuff of write what you know, but like, how much do you know? You know, if
Yeah.
you wrote everything that just did what you know, it'd be boring. So I'm all for researching stuff and yeah, pushing yourself beyond what you know.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Um, yeah. Um, that's about all I got for that subject then.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, there's the lesson, people. Learn, talk to other people, and learn, and Google.
Bingo.
But be careful of Google.
Be very careful of Google.
Yeah, Google's not
Um,
always your friend.
yeah, yeah. I tend to actually search for stuff on Twitter, which sounds really strange. I think Twitter's search bar to find like articles and stuff
Mhm.
works so much better than actually Google, because Google just half of it's filled with ads and it's just stuff trying to be sold to you, and it's like that's not what I'm looking for. So
Yeah,
yeah, I've noticed that recently. I've gone to Twitter to find links to articles because it's just easier to write it that way.
yeah. Well, the nice thing about Twitter too is you get the people aspect too. So if there's certain people that you can follow and just and that maybe post those articles or speak about those
Mhm.
subjects a lot, then you can learn a lot that way too.
Direct communication with them too.
Yeah,
So yeah, that would be the way to do it.
yeah. So be careful of Tumblr too, people.
Yeah. If you're being cautious of Google, be very cautious of Tumblr. You can find some very black holes on Tumblr. It just eats up time
Oh
like
yeah,
no other. Just finding
yeah,
reference on there, it's like it's so addictively wild there.
yeah. And you just keep following link to link to link.
Yeah, 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 yeah. You just flipping from hashtag to hashtag, and it's like it's you realize that you wasted 45 minutes an hour looking up one subject. You're like, shit.
And then you go on to the next one because you're like, "Ooh, that's interesting." It's like squirrel, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's awesome.
So, any good movies lately? Since we've exhausted the first.
Uh, Magnificent Seven. I just saw this last week, and that was awesome. The western with Denzel Washington and Chris Pratt.
Yeah, it
I
looked good.
loved
I
it.
haven't seen it yet. Yeah.
So good. Saw a couple other random ones. Oh, Nerve was really awesome. It kind of has this mentality where it's a live game, and like there's players and dares from the internet. It's kind of like a live version of Truth or Dare with
Mhm.
essentially Twitter, and like people are just dared to do real stuff in life, and it turned out to be a really awesome movie. Like I was not expecting it to be as good as it was, but it's really well fleshed out.
Yeah, no, that looked. I saw commercials for that. It looked pretty interesting. It kind of looks like it runs along the same lines as Hunger Games or something like that too, or
Mhm,
even The Running
mhm.
Man.
Yeah, it was that, but like set in practical like right now times, and it
Mhm.
was like the visuals were incredible too, because it was very contrasting bright and dark lighting, and it's just
Mm.
such a great looking film.
Yeah.
I You saw Kubo recently, haven't you?
No, I think what did I end up seeing? I didn't see that one. I ended up seeing something else, and I can't remember off the top of my head what it was.
That is the one that I've been waiting to see,
Yeah.
and I think it might be out of theaters now, and I'm screwed.
Oh, I think I saw Ghostbusters instead.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think I ended up seeing Ghostbusters instead because that's what my daughter wanted to see. So
How'd you like that?
I actually I really liked it. I thought it was. I mean, I loved the old movie. The old movie.
Mm.
I can't even tell you how many times I watched it because every time it was on TV, I was watching the thing because I love it.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, it's very it's different, but also it has a lot of the same kind of feelings of the as the old
Hmm.
movie. It was funny. I mean,
Oh yeah.
that's the
Oh
important
yeah.
thing. Yeah.
I love the chemistry those four ladies had together. Like it was just some like it felt like the same movie but with different characters playing it, and like
Mhm.
they were just so funny.
Yeah, they're
Especially
hilarious.
was it Holtz? is the blonde.
Yes.
Oh god,
Yeah.
she was the best. Best part of the whole movie.
Yeah. And they had Sigourney Weaver coming in.
Yeah, that like that moment, I was like, I think they had everybody cameo except Moranis, didn't they?
Um, yeah, I think so. I'm
I
trying to
think so.
remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they
Yeah,
had Bill
because the
Murray.
receptionist was actually the receptionist at the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
So good. It's a real good movie.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty funny. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else I don't think I haven't been able to get to the movies much, so I don't think I've seen.
That's actually the movie that's gotten the most
Yeah.
flack this year for being like a female like casted like, and another one where people just never even gave it a shot before just outlandishly like screaming about how much it would ruin their childhood, and it's like they're separate movies. Like
Yeah.
you need to
Yeah,
detach yourself a little bit more.
yeah, and I think that goes back to the whole, people get this mindset of what a character should be, and God forbid you change it. People like familiarity and they like the same. So
Yeah.
it goes right along with that one. Here we are ruining
And I
childhoods.
feel we are getting to a reboot like Burnout, where like they've just rebooted everything, that like people are just tired of seeing that. But at the same point, if you're making a multi-million-dollar movie and you definitely want it to be successful, like you're gonna lead with something that people are familiar with rather than taking a chance on a newer property. Like, because Pacific Rim did that a few years ago, and it didn't do necessarily well here in the U.S., but it did amazing overseas, and like that's what made it get a second movie being made. And it's like it's such a dramatic field for movie or for the cinema right now, and like a lot of the reboots aren't even being made for, like I've seen stories that a lot of the reboots aren't even being made for the US, where they're being made for the countries that have never seen the original. So that's where you get a lot of the same story elements but different characters and scenes. So it's
Mhm.
like in that sense it makes a lot of sense. But also you have to realize that a lot of these other countries, like the theater is probably the most enjoyable place. Like I know China has theaters that like that's some of the only air conditioned places they have, like in smaller villages and whatnot. So it's like I don't know if they're driving up sales because they want to see the movie or they're just looking to get out of heat. Which I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah, who could blame them?
we've had we've had those hot summers here, and it's like, man, we just want to get somewhere comfortable. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, I used to do that as a kid too. So I mean, just
oh yeah,
who doesn't?
absolutely.
Movie theater's
We
always
get kicked
cold.
out of the house.
Yeah.
We get kicked out of the house, and our parents just told us to go play for the day.
Yeah.
I
Let's go to the
remember those
movies.
days.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of funny too how sometimes movies will do anything like that will do so much better in other countries and not America, where it was even where it was filmed. It
Yeah,
kind of makes you
yeah.
wonder.
I don't know. There's also that whole idea about Asian movies being whitewashed, and I saw the preview for, I want to say it was The Great Wall, where it's Matt Damon like saving uh, Chinese people from Mongolians, I believe it is. But like everybody was so upset that they got Matt Damon, and like the director was like, "No, I wanted Matt Damon. Like this movie was written for Matt Damon." It's like, how are you gonna argue with that?
Right.
It's like go go if you're understand if you want to see the movie, see the movie. Don't. But like, don't trash something before you even give it a chance.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. I think they trashed. They trashed Batman. I mean, not that I mean, there's other reasons to trash Batman versus Superman, but
oh yeah,
but everybody was so upset about the casting for that movie too. It's just
and I understand. I think Batman or Ben Affleck makes a great Batman.
that makes an awesome Batman. Yeah, like I said, the movie
And it
would be
was
trashed
such
for other
a
reasons.
it was such a change from everybody else that's played Batman, and it's like, I mean, they had George Clooney at one point, so Ben
Right.
Affleck was a, and I don't know if you've ever seen, but I think it was Hollywoodland where he played Superman, and he did
Right.
really well in that, and I was looking forward to it at that point. So, but yeah, that it's got some flaws, but I wouldn't say as much hate as it got. In the same way with Suicide Squad, I saw that movie and it was a good movie, but I mean, it wasn't great, but it definitely wasn't to the point where it got so much hate for it.
Yeah.
And at that same point, it's like, I don't know, people just need to chill a little bit.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, if it's something that you don't want to see, don't go see it. Rather than publicly trashing it and then trashing the people that are in it. I mean, going back to Ghostbusters. I mean, you had Leslie Legg who got trashed on Twitter,
Oh
and
my
just
god, yes.
insanely trashed just because she was in that movie. It's like, come on now.
Yeah. That was just a wild moment because it's like this is a real person, and like I think people
Mhm.
forget that easily, and it's like live and let live. Why would you want to tear somebody down that much just
Right.
to, I don't know.
I think you're
There's
right.
a
I think
real,
people just forget that these are real people we're talking about. They're not just characters on Twitter.
yeah, yeah. So I don't know. It's wild
Yeah.
because as artists, we want people to accept our accept our characters that we're doing, but if they're so openly ready to hate them, it's hard to walk that thin line.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, there's so much variety that you should be able to find exactly what you're looking for. So don't necessarily like if you're not if you're not excited about a project, go on to something else, but you don't have to trash a project just to make yourself feel better. Like
Mm.
if you're out $5 because you bought a comic and didn't like it, like talk to somebody that possibly would like that, and then if you think they like it, give it to them to try out. But like they might have insight of something you might like better, and it's like I don't know. I just don't. People need to take time and realize that these people are real people, and like they're not just this fantasy world they've been reading. So
Right. Right. I think part of the problem with the internet is it makes it very easy to put up that wall and forget that these are real people and they
no,
have feelings and whatnot, and you could potentially hurt them. But yeah, I agree
that's
with
for
you.
sure.
Like there's the world's big enough that you can everybody can enjoy something. Go find
Oh
one of
yeah,
those
yeah,
you enjoy. Don't trash what you don't.
it's true. Like my mama always said, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Right.
And like that's what we're missing in this world right now.
Yeah.
People are so quick to have a sharp tongue rather than just take a breath and realize what they're about to say.
Yeah, or even try to have a conversation with someone about it rather than immediately just attacking and not listening
Hmm.
to another
Yeah,
viewpoint.
I've seen something where it's like people nowadays are listening to respond rather than listening to hear, and
Right.
that's the mentality of most people that I know. So
Yeah, unfortunately, that's true. So, do you have any other project? I mean, you said you're taking a little bit of break, but do you have any other projects going on besides
right
getting this
now
finished?
I'm kickstarting the issue 6, and that's got about 5 more days, and then I basically have to put 6 together. Um, I've got to get covers painted for issue 7. I'll probably do a little bit painting in October, just to get away from comics for a little bit, and then once I get 6 printed and shipped out to people, like I'll get back into issue 7. So just taking a little break to do some painting and take some time to myself. So
Yeah, cool. Yeah, and I know you're on Patreon too, and you had mentioned that you're taking a little bit of a pulling back a little bit from that too, and that's
uh, that that was really interesting because I had started getting so ahead of what was actually out in the world for my project that it seemed like if people were paying attention to it, like it was a very small group that would be possibly 2 issues ahead at this moment, and it's like uh, I've got to retool it a little bit and make content almost specific for them, so they feel like they're um, not just throwing money in a bucket, but at the same point, I had a bunch going on in September that I didn't want to keep them, or I didn't want them feeling confused by all the updates I was doing, because it would have been 2 issues ahead at that point. So,
Right.
but I think October it's going to see some retooling, and I've got some fun little things that I've got planned for it. So
Oh, cool. Yeah, I've got to try to.
I think
That's
you,
another thing I have to
yeah,
get
because
back
you
to.
said you were gonna.
Yeah, I got a lot of things.
Yeah, October should be pretty fun.
Yeah, that'll be cool. Yeah, a lot of times I forget I've got a Patreon and I just forget to post there. I guess because I don't know why.
They've done a lot of better things with the app, and that's typically how I've been posting. And then now I think if they got a gallery, like where you could post things, and make it a lot better. And I think they're getting there. Um, I've been paying attention to their updates and posts and whatnot, and I think the tags is a good stepping point, so you can find everything that you're looking for. Like it automatically finds those tags, and it's not overwhelming. I think the max tags you can have on a post is 5, so it's not overwhelming to like you're just
Right.
throwing keywords at a wall, like when you post on YouTube and whatnot, and hope something sticks. So
Right.
I like the adjustments they've made, and I think by January they'll have a really solid platform. The reason I post a Patreon is because it's a nice place to it condenses everything that I've been working on. Um, but like I said, I was just getting too far ahead of myself. That was public publicly available, and I just didn't want to confuse, because I know I have a few people that are reading my comic on there, and I didn't want to get them confused when they read the next issue page by page and then come back to the physical form of the
Hmm.
next issue. So
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
it's a real fickle beast, that Patreon right now.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and I had a lot of trouble trying to even decide what to offer as I don't know if you would call them rewards, but whatever it is that the different levels depending on what people give you. It's
Hmm.
just it's a tricky thing to figure out because there's so many people on it now. That I think
Yeah,
there's a lot of competition too. And it's like how do you get yourself seen and yourself promoted without with all those other people.
it's true. I think I've seen one of the more helpful tips is where if you're giving tiers, you want to be the first tier, like the dollar tier, to be pretty hefty. This is stuff that you're not mailing out or anything like that, and like the more the more artists I check out on Patreon, they have a great base of that $1 tier that people are essentially just tipping them $1 a month, uh, just to give them some support. But it's when you get to that 10, 25 tiers that you start to feel like you need to mail stuff, and then at that point you're kind of eating your own feet. So it's like
Right.
it's real hard to find a balance of those tier systems. So.
Yeah, I know a lot of people will use videos and live streams or even hangouts where
Mhm.
their higher tier people can have a private hangout with them or whatever as a way to you know to give them something without having to expend money
Yeah,
other
yeah,
than your time.
yeah. And I mean, I've got plenty of that. If
Yeah,
if people want my time, that's fine by me.
yeah,
So right on.
yep, yep. So that is another tricky thing is promoting, trying to promote yourself, finding the time to
Oh
do it.
man,
It's a lot of
that's
work.
that's the tricky part. Is you want to post something, but when you're at the point of posting something, you're just like, just everywhere all at once, and then you find out like many people see that and they just start unfollowing you different places, and it's like shit.
Yeah.
So it's a tricky balance to post one thing one place and wait a little bit and post it somewhere else, and trying
Yeah.
to figure out this whole beast as a once.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
real
different platforms seem to have different times that are really good. Like I noticed if when I post to Instagram in the morning, I get more hits than if I do in the afternoon.
mm,
But for Tumblr, I get more at night than I do in the morning. So sometimes that changes up too. So
oh yeah.
you never know.
I don't know. I've tried figuring it out, but I think I'm just gonna roll with the punches anymore. It's just like, well, here's some stuff.
Yeah, exactly. You like it, good. If not, oh well. Yeah.
So, yep. Any big plans for the weekend?
Just drawing a lot.
Just
I
drawing.
want, yeah,
Um,
I want mostly to just because there is such a lack of time during the week for me to try to get as much of penciling done for the Inktober pieces as I can. So at least I've got the pencils down, and then I can quickly ink them, so it's not as
oh, right
difficult.
on. Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and I may or
Uh,
may not start the next page of work in progress too, just to force myself to get back on that.
right on. I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Do you
a bit of
have
a learning curve.
a newsletter set up that like
Uh,
you can inform people when the new pages are up?
No, I mean I've thought about that. I mean that's a good idea. I just hadn't thought of how to approach it. I actually bought a website and with a URL and a name just for myself, or like a personal website for myself and
Hmm.
a domain, and just again haven't had the time to actually make it.
Oh yeah.
So because I was thinking about developing that first and then kind of putting an email and newsletter or whatever from that, but I don't know. Maybe I should just
Well,
start another way.
I think newsletters is the best way of communicating with people, and it sounds so counterintuitive from what the world is technology wise now. But like, I've noticed people respond better to my emails than post on Facebook. So
Mm.
it's definitely something worth in like building up as you go along. And I think if you did it at the end of October and like had a gallery of your Inktober pieces, it would be a nice way to get people in the door for your newsletter and whatnot. So
Yeah, no, that's a good
something to think
idea.
about.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah, no, and I've never actually done a newsletter. I mean, I've done ones that were like, silly ones like over the summer to family, but I've never actually done a true newsletter kind of thing. So that's definitely something I got to look into to see, to see what, how to even approach that.
I think the best way I did it is I picked a few artists, and this was back when I was actually painting all the time and not before I was in comics. I was actually going around to a different artist's website, and they would have newsletters and sign up for them, and kind of seeing what they were doing with theirs, and then getting a good idea of how I wanted to execute. And then, I mean, I've been sending newsletters for 2+ years now, so
Oh, that's
about
cool.
once every month.
Yeah. And I guess you could, I don't know if you could even do like do a newsletter, but also do. I know a lot of people use blogs. They'll do a blog
Mhm.
post. And you sign up for that too. Um,
Mhm.
like one artist I know will have like an artistic motivational thing, every so often that he posts. So, I mean, I guess that'd be another way to go is a blog type thing.
Yeah, I've seen a resurgence in the last month or so. Um, Actually, people telling that other artists that they should be utilizing them as well, and it's like, all right, I'm all right with that.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a thing where Facebook's kind of dying off, and having somewhere where you can post that people know that they can come to and see um, is a better idea to have than the social media platform that might be dead in the next few years. So
Mm, that's true. Well, that's why you don't put your eggs all in one basket. You have multiple ones.
that's the easiest way to carry them, and I think it just works for me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well,
I think that's about it.
yeah, I can't think of anything else. Well,
Right on.
all right. Well, hopefully I'll try to, again, since things are settling down, I'll try to set these up a little more often, maybe once a month or something like that to start. And maybe we can get more interest in it next time. But anyway, it's
Absolutely.
great
Now that I
talking.
have a more consistent internet
Yeah,
connection, I can actually
yeah,
do these a little bit more often.
yeah. But I don't know. I like the idea of having a subject too, or something to start with. So
Yeah,
maybe.
absolutely.
But anyway, I guess that's it. So bye, everybody. Whoever watched or whoever's watching this in the future.
Bye, everybody.